Hello again, everyone. This is Caroline. Welcome to today's class. It is the first one of the series, the Healers Program series. This is a very fun and exciting class. You will see that it's much more than a healing class, but let's go ahead and get started, first of all, by explaining or going over what the Omnia method is. What is it that you are learning here today, and why is it different, or how is it different from all other techniques that you may have learned? So I can describe the Omnia method as a method to re-establish the original DNA of your cells, because I believe that the human cells, come in already understanding, knowing exactly how they repair themselves. It's a reprogramming, reorganization. All of this encoding is already in your cells. But what happens coming here on the earth, the cells get kind of distracted with the pollution, the different belief systems, the emotions, and all of that stuff. And so the cells start to forget, so to speak, their original encoding, their original DNA. So this method really allows the cells to return to their original encoding and blueprint. And the way that we do this in the Omnia method is we use specific universal frequencies. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But these are not just any frequencies. They are not planetary. They're not galactic. They are specific frequencies to restore that original DNA. And also what makes this method different is the experiential way of learning and healing. Normally the way we learn is by repeating. If, for example, I could have just read some information or studied some information, and I could be repeating it to you today. But that's not how this method works, and that's not how it's being delivered, and that's not how you are going to deliver it. So it's really based on your own experience to really feel the information yourself and at the core of your being on a cellular level. Also, this method combines different tools simultaneously. In other methods, for example, you use a certain frequency or maybe a hands-on type of experience or technique. Well, what happens with the Omnia method is that you are actually combining several tools at the same time and using them at the same time. We're going to be using intent, sound, light, geometry, and also much more sophisticated techniques, because I believe that not one technique will work for everyone at the same time all the time. It doesn't make sense. And so you will see, the more we progress in this course, that each technique is going to be very specific for a specific case, for a specific individual. So it's very, very specific. And that's why it has to combine a wide range of techniques and be used that are used at the same time. And finally, what makes the Omnia method different is that it's training you to be the instrument of healing, meaning you are not simply there as the kind of facilitator or as the healer, and then you are using a technique outside yourself. It doesn't work this way. This method trains you to become the instrument. In other words, your physical body, your physical cells are going to hold the information to heal yourself and to heal others. So it's a very different way of learning and healing and transferring this healing energy to others. So this is just a general intro. You should have read some of that already on the website. I'm still trying trying to allow a few more people to join here. And so I'm going to begin with the presentation. Maybe for another 30 or 40 minutes, I will be explaining what we're going to work on today. And then after this presentation, you will have plenty of time to ask some questions. So as I am speaking, as I am explaining, if you think of a question, please don't try to send me a note or a message or raise your hand during the presentation. Simply write it down on a piece of paper, on your notepad, for you to remember it. And then when the time comes in 30 minutes or so for the question time, then we will open up the lines, and then you'll be able to ask your questions at that time so that everyone can benefit. So we will do it this way. And then after the question, then we will do the experiential portion of the class, which allows you to feel everything that we've been talking about. Okay? So, all right. So I'm going to continue with the explanation here. But before I go into too many details, I want to share with you how all of this came about. I just mentioned that this information was not taught to me. I was not kind of in a classroom and somebody gave me this information and I'm repeating it. All of this technique and all of this method came to me since I was a young girl. At a very young age, I could sense and I could see that everything around me had a vibration. When I looked at things before around me, whatever they were, whether it would be a little animal or food or a tree or other people, I could sense and I could see that there was something, as kind of a vibration coming off of those things. And so it was very interesting, but I didn't quite know what that meant. And also what was very interesting is that I saw that the vibration was not all the same. Not everything had the exact same type of vibration. And even within a certain type of being, let's say if I looked at someone, even within one being, there were many different types of vibration all mixed in together. So it was very complex. I was very, very excited that I could sense and see and decipher or recognize that there was this vibration and the different layers of the vibration and the different types of vibration, but I couldn't quite kind of figure it out at that time. But it was so exciting to me that I kept kind of wanting to go deeper. And I realized that if everything had a vibration, if everything in existence has a vibration, because everywhere I looked, there was something that was vibrating. Nothing was absolutely still. Nothing was finite. Even when we say the 3D reality that we live in, that it is finite, that it ends, it's still, I don't agree, because when I looked at it, I could see that it was perpetually moving. And so I would, for example, zoom in to someone's heart, for example, and I could see that those cells of the heart were vibrating. But the rate of that vibration was not the same as their liver, like I just mentioned. And so it was very interesting also not only that every organ in our body was vibrating differently, but also the rate was different from person to person. So then, what was the correct rate? When I looked at someone's heart and it was vibrating, for example, the cells were vibrating at 580 hertz, for example, meaning making 580 tiny little circles per second. Well, when I looked at somebody else's heart, it was maybe 320. So it was very confusing. I would say, well, what is it, 580 or is it 320? I could see the difference, but I didn't understand why. So of course, I kept going at it, and in the meantime, of course, I'm summarizing years and years and years of experiences to bring to you finally these results, so to speak, and this method all together. And so what happened was I started to have experiences in my own body. For example, I would have a pain somewhere in my physical body, and then suddenly I would simply focus on this pain, and the pain would simply go away, like suspended. It would be suspended just spontaneously. I didn't have to do anything or take anything, obviously. I just had to focus on it. Sometimes I would have a flu, for example, with a high fever, and you all know how that feels. Doesn't feel very good. And so a pretty high fever, and then as I would focus on, for example, my brain or my head that was throbbing, for example, and I would simply ask for this to go away, it would simply go away, just like that, spontaneously. And so I would be pretty freaked out, actually, in the beginning, because it didn't make any logical sense. And but I had a period in my life where these experiences started to happen over and over and over and over. And it was very intriguing. I was in a big denial for the longest time. But then I realized that there has to be something behind it. If everything was vibrating, what was it that I was doing at the time that allowed me to suddenly suspend this whatever, the pain or the fever or whatever it was? And so I kept looking for these answers, and then I realized that two things were going on. First of all, I had tiny little kind of light kind of wires, so to speak, coming out from the physical brain. They were like energetic cables, so to speak, that of course that I eventually understood are called the mind channels. And guess what? I'm not the only one who has them. Everyone on the earth has the same thing. We all have mind channels, meaning they're kind of long cables, energetic of course, that connect our physical brain. One connects us to the planetary grid, the second channel connects us to the galactic grid, and the third channel connects us to the universal grid. And so because I could see subtle energy very clearly, I was able to discern this arrangement. I didn't know how it happened. I just knew that when my mind channels were perfectly aligned in this configuration, meaning one connecting straight to the planetary grid, the other one to the galactic grid, and the third one to the universal grid, then everything was suspended. All the pain, physical pain, if I had any sort of illness, if I had any sort of fever or what have you, was suddenly suspended. And so I didn't really understand in the beginning. Like I said, this is after years and years of trial and error and looking more carefully and studying and experiencing different things, that I understood that these mind channels had to be aligned this way. And also, my energy field had to be raised to a specific vibration. When my energy field was raised to a specific vibration, because I could see the vibration so clearly, then all illness or all discomfort was suddenly suspended. And that was the turning point where, when I understood that, I said, this is it. I now understand that this is the requirement to restore the human body, the human cells' DNA to their original vibration. Because in this particular vibration, then everything is suspended and returned to normal. Another thing that was going on is I realized that normally when we learn something or when we feel something, we're only using just a part of our brain. We're using the frontal lobe or the temporal lobe or both. Like our cognitive ability is the part of our brain that processes information to resolve problems. So if I have a problem, I receive the information, I process it, and I understand it if someone explains it to me through the English language, for example, and then I was able to resolve it. But what was happening in the case where the vibration was very high and everything was suddenly suspended is that the entire brain was engaged. In other words, every aspect of the brain was receiving the same information. And so that was pretty extraordinary. You know how scientists tell us that we only use 10% of our brain? That's what it is. It's true. It's because the way we process information here on the earth, the way we are trained to learn the information is through using only parts of our brain. And I realized that that was a huge mistake. And so, in fact, I could see that the brain being exactly having the same the same design or the same blueprint as the whole universe, it had to be coherent with that blueprint. Therefore, it was not normal to only use a small part of the brain. It had to be connected to the whole universal consciousness, because we are made with those three channels. We are connected with these three channels, and we are actually coherent with the universal design. In fact, if you look at these two drawings, on the left is a brain cell. Look at the picture on the left. It's the picture of a brain cell, and the picture on the right is a picture of galaxies put together. I mean, look at this coherence. Look at this design. It looks exactly the same. And so, because of that, and of course some people are studying this much more carefully to see those differences, but I could sense and see this difference, and I realized that the mind has to be engaged fully in order to be fully connected, in order for the vibration to be raised to a certain place, to a certain range, so that you can heal, so that you can restore the correct vibration of the cell. And so, of course, I was very excited after years and years of working on myself and experiencing all these things and trying to make it very logical. And I started to look around. I said, well, if this is how it works, if this is what my mind channels were doing, if this is what my energy field was doing, my vibration, well, what's everybody else doing? So I was starting to look around, and I could see people's mind channels. Again, I was very fortunate that I could see the subtle energy very clearly. And I looked around and I saw stuff like this. I saw people's mind channels pointing in all different directions, all over the place, remaining, of course, in the planetary configuration, and they were certainly not pointed upward or to anything specific. The energy field was very crunched down. It wasn't expanded. And once in a while, I would see kind of a bigger expansion in the mind channels. I would see that this person was connected beyond the planetary, was connected to a galactic frequency, but also I would see a sort of form of fear or confusion, and I would see the energy coming right back. This person not being able to sustain that connection because of the confusion. And that is because we are not taught, we are not given all this information, and so our mind channels are pointing in all different directions. And of course, the biggest connection, which is our universal connection, which connects us back to our entire being, to our original self. That connection, because it is not so specifically maintained or kind of attended to, eventually begins to disappear. And so I looked around and I saw people walking around like this. And it made perfect sense why people were confused, were stuck. You can see on the left what the energy field looks like, what the mind channels are doing, and people with this had low vibration. When I looked at the vibration, everything was moving very, very slowly. Their heart frequency was slow, their digestive system frequency was slow, and then when you looked at someone on the right that was very connected, then you could see the mind channels very solidly pointed in the proper configuration, and their energy field totally expanded. And in this particular case, the people's vibration, this person's vibration on the right was very high, and their physical body was in perfect condition. I mean, perfect. It was in much better condition. And this finally gave me the answer to my question. How come some people's heart were vibrating at one rate? How come some people's stomach was vibrating at a different rate? I understood that it had to do with the mind channels and the frequency range. And so, if everything is then energy, everything is vibrating, and if higher vibration means optimal health, optimal well-being, you feel connected, you feel strong, and your cells are restored to their original DNA, well then, what is the ultimate vibration for optimal health and well-being? So if that is what the conclusion that I have come to, then what is this vibration? And of course, how do you get there? So I kept looking and trying to understand all of this information to finally get to the frequency range that will get us all to this very aligned, very solidly connected place. And I realized, of course, we're going to talk about this in more details in the next classes anyway. And I saw that the energy field was actually composed of 3 energy fields. We didn't have just one. We had 3 energy fields. So you can see that this person in his body is a kind of a DNA, and that's the physical DNA. But also around him is another energy field, and that energy field is what we call spirit and mind energy. Or if I looked more closely, it looked something like this. So inside this person's body is the human DNA, meaning it's how this person looks, how what their hair color should be, their eye color should be, how tall they are, what have you. That's the physical DNA. That's the human DNA. That's what makes them look like their parents or what have you. And this DNA, whatever is inside this person, is the physical DNA, is planetary vibration, meaning the frequency range was all planetary. It was recognized, it was a different type of vibration. Remember earlier, I was telling you that even though everything was vibrating, but it was not the exact same type of vibration. And so that was very, very clear. And beyond that, around this person's body was another form of vibration, another completely different energy field that is called spirit energy field. And that cannot even be measured with the planetary, the human instruments, because it's a different form of energy. In other words, if the human DNA that's inside this person's body tells him to have dark hair and blue eyes or what have you. Well, this spirit energy that's around this person's body has nothing to do with his planetary aspect, with his human aspect. It had to do with his soul nature, meaning it's the way this person, the character, the type of energy this person holds. It is complete. It has nothing to do with his human aspect. And finally, there was another energy field that was also integrated with the whole being. That is what I call the mind energy. This mind energy, or it is also what we call consciousness, is yet another form of frequency that is not planetary. It is completely universal. And what happens is that because we are human, we think there's only our physical DNA and that's that. And if we fix that, then we're all good to go. But that was precisely the problem. That's precisely where we fall short. We fall short because we forget, or we don't see evidence. We don't have instruments to measure these things yet anyway, or we're not looking for these things. But these two energy fields, meaning the spirit energy and the mind energy, are not taken into account. So here we are fixing the human DNA, we're fixing the cells, we are, aligning our chakras and raising our vibration, but we're not putting our physical body in the context of the universe. As I showed you earlier, you are made in the image of the universe, meaning your physical cells have a design, of course we're going to talk more in details about this later on, but this is just to tell you that what's missing is the context. We are forgetting that just fixing the body without putting it in the context of the universe, meaning aligning the mind channels, raising the vibration, expanding energy field all the way to the universe, we would be only fixing parts of the problem. And that is the major discovery that came to me, and that was the major aha moment for me. And then I said, okay, now I can specifically explain and how this all of this works, and where we need to go to the next level of healing. So of course, most of you by now are aware that the human energy field has layers, and we have chakras and all that. But again, as I was mentioning, that we are simply aligning the chakras together. We are simply opening up the third eye. We're simply working with the astral layer or what have you, or the mental layer. But that's it. 99.9% of the healing that is occurring on the earth right now stops right here. What you see on your screen right now it's a lot more than just the physical body, which is traditional medicine that stops only at what you can at the physical cells of the physical body, and the energy field is not even into account. But the energy medicine that is out there also stops exactly where you see it on your screen right now. And what I'm here to tell you today is that even that is not enough. Even that is not taking into account your entire being, because you weren't made here. The fact that you were born here from your mother or what have you does not mean that you appear human like everybody else. That is only an aspect of your being. But if you could see the subtle energy, you could see that beyond that, you were created at the universal level. You are created with a universal blueprint, and that part you cannot see quite yet. And so this is the juncture where we have to go beyond what energy medicine has stopped basically, or is working on, and integrate the bigger context. So the bigger context is that this green energy field, which is your human, your physical aspect, has now to be coherent with the pink energy field, which is your spirit energy, which is who you really are, and then which also has to be coherent with another energy field, which is your consciousness, which is the type of being that you are. So check this out. You balance your energy field, which is in green, which is all planetary vibration, but now you have to put it, make it coherent with the other two aspects of you that are universal. And so if you don't have this context, then all the work you're doing remains planetary, and you are not taking into account the consciousness of your entire being. Okay, so now the big question of the century: how do you get there? How do you balance all of your being? How do you integrate all of your being? How do you get to be all of your being, even though you just look like a human and you just have one physical body? And that is what I'm here to share with you. That is the biggest the biggest discovery, really, in terms of vibration. This is it. So what happens is your physical body is vibrating. We saw that earlier. Everything is vibrating. As you look at your physical body, the vibration is planetary, and it goes from 0.1 to 733 hertz, meaning every cell in your body is vibrating somewhere within that range. So when you are eating something, if you eat something that has a low vibration, then that organ in your body is going to drop down to maybe 100 hertz or something like that. And if you, eat too much sugar or what have you, or if you do anything that changes your vibration, in fact, not just what you're ingesting, but your emotions and your thoughts, everything is vibration. And so you are basically fluctuating between 0.1, 0.1 is really, really low. But let me tell you, alcohol has a vibration of 0.1, which is very, very, very low. And so what's happening is that you are really, really dropping your vibration when you are ingesting alcohol. And of course, there are different types of alcohol, and if I'm generalizing here. And so you are fluctuating back and forth up to 733 hertz. And what's happening is that most of humanity basically is around 150, something like that, which is also in general very, very low. And so I realized that there is one tiny part of your energy field that I call the spirit self. And this part, at this particular juncture, at this layer of your being, of your energy field, vibrates between 734 and 1000 hertz. And that layer is the layer that allows you to then align your entire being together. That is the vibrational frequency that your physical body needs to get to, your human aspect needs to get to, in order for all of your being to be perfectly coherent, and for your physical DNA, for your cells to be restored to their original setting, meaning perfectly healthy, perfectly clean. That is the frequency range that is required. So please take a look at this drawing, absorb it, and remember that about 7 to 9 feet away from your physical body, of course it's 360 degrees, there is a frequency range that allows you to suspend pain, to suspend illness. Earlier I told you the story, right? How I would be in the middle of having fever or having pain or what have you. I was reaching specifically that range. When I was with that range, everything disappeared. Everything went away. And I was then able to merge with the rest of me, meaning be perfectly coherent with my spirit energy aspect, my mind energy aspect. I could feel my entire being. I could expand entirely to the universal level. And I tell you, it's pretty amazing feeling because it's not just about healing. It's not just about restoring, the physical cells to a healthy place. Of course, that's that. But what happens is when you go back, when you are vibrating at this level, and you then, through intent, you deliberately ask to become coherent with the rest of your being, meaning the spirit energy and your consciousness frequency range, then you really begin to understand who you really are beyond this human form. And like I said, other than the healing, it starts to be very, very, very powerful. And so the idea is, if that is the frequency range, then how do you get there? And the question of the century, and of course we have an answer, which is the meditation that of course I've come up with. It's called Connecting to Source. It is actually encoded to 1,000 hertz. It is, the entire frequency is there. As soon as you tune into it, you basically vibrate at 1,000 hertz spontaneously. You don't have to do anything, and you don't have to go into a deep trance or what have you. You just have to tune into that Connecting to Source meditation. It raises your vibration immediately, instantly, spontaneously. And remember those lovely mind channels? Well, they become aligned. They become perfectly aligned. The 3 mind channels, one is pointed directly into the earthly grid, the second one to the galactic, and the third to the universal. And that expands your consciousness, of course, exponentially. And by the way, this meditation is free of charge on the website. And so it is absolutely important that you visit the website to take advantage of this meditation that is offered absolutely free. So there's no excuse, okay? And then the second question is, okay, well, how do you maintain this connection? Because it's one thing to get there, but then how do you maintain it? Of course, the idea is if you are normally vibrating at 200 and 150 and what have you, and then you suddenly take yourself to 734 or 1,000, and your body is not used to it, of course, there's a bit of a kind of a training period, but eventually the more you do it, the faster you will get used to it, and you'll be able to maintain that connection. And this is the vibration, like I said, where everything gets suspended. And of course, finally, you have to believe that this is working. In the beginning, as I mentioned, we hang out at 100 for so long, for years and years and years. And so suddenly we were asking ourselves to go up to 1,000, and they're not used to it. So we may right away not feel too much, although 99% of the people feel something. But what happens is that you have to readjust. There's a period of adjustment. You have to keep at it until eventually you're not going to be able to live without it. You're going to really find yourself. You're going to find your original connection to your entire being, to who you really are. And so that is really the experience. And so that's kind of the most important information today, is for you to remember this vibrational range, for you to understand where it's located, what your mind channels should be doing. And of course, I'm gonna go through this. We're gonna experience all of this information in just a minute. But in the meantime, also to facilitate for you to feel this vibration, how it to maximize basically the experience, I recommend that you sit up straight with your feet on the ground. You hear me say this all the time, and the reason being, you maximize your ability to experience and to hold this higher vibration. And as I showed you earlier, the brain channels are upwards, and so some people ask me, well, if you're lying down, can you do it? Of course you can do it. It's just better that your mind channels are pointing up towards the center of the universe or what have you, and your feet are pointing down into the ground. So that is the best way to raise your vibration faster, to feel more, and to maintain that connection, to retrain your brain to that place. And of course, if you are working with other people, it doesn't have to be with the client. This work is for yourself, for your family, or also with other people. Then you do the same thing. This is basically the best way to experience the connection, to raise your vibration, and to maintain this higher vibration. Okay, good. So I'm going to stop right here and see if you have any questions. This is the time we've been testing the audio and what have you. So this is the time to ask your questions about anything that has been said so far. And I'm going to begin to unmute your lines if you have questions so we can hear your question. Okay, go ahead, Wendy. Do you have a question? Your hand is up, so did you have a question?
It was up from the testing, but actually what I'm looking at with the client is that energy field, how it expands. When I'm completely aligned, my energy field is expanded beyond me to affect other people. So, not a question, just a comment and checking my mic.
Okay, good. So, all right. So you guys, if you have a question, this is the time to raise your hand. Or if you don't have a question, then put your hand down. Okay? So here we go. Let me see who else. Of course, if you want, you can type in your question, but it's much easier if you speak your question. Okay, Carmen. Carmen, where are you calling from? Do you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Well, I've been trying for half an hour now to get through, and just to know that I'm connected to the schoolroom, so I'm happy to hear you. I cannot see you. Is that normal?
You should be able to see the screen, but anyway, by the way, for those who have missed the beginning, this information will be in your account, so you can go back to your account and review what you have missed, okay?
No, I haven't missed your talk, but I wasn't sure that I was really connected.
Okay, do you have a question now?
At the moment, no.
Oh, okay, all right. So guys, I would appreciate it if you just raise your hand only if you have a question. Otherwise, I'm going to think that you have a question, and then I'm going to open the line. Okay. Haya, do you have a question? Hello? All right. Okay, let me see. All right, Rod, I see your comment. Welcome. Great to have you. Do you have a question, you guys? We've been testing the microphone, so please, if you have a question, this is the time to raise your hand. If you don't have a question, do not raise your hand. Okay, John, go ahead.
Hello. You mentioned that we should be upright to properly connect the source. But then I was thinking about how the Earth is round. So are we aligning ourselves with the Earth grid, more so than the actual location of the source of the universe? That's a bit confused.
Yes, of course, it's very confusing because I'm going to mute you. Because you think in a linear way, so we think that we're sitting up and there's this arrow coming out of our brain and it's shooting up in space and it keeps going up in space. But that's not how it really works, because as you just mentioned, it's round and so it's kind of holographic. And so what happens is that I'm going to show you this other slide here. What happens is that even though you are shooting your mind channels up, it's really a hologram. It's like you are a smaller hologram, part of a bigger hologram, right? And so what happens is that your mind channels are okay, I'm like going backwards here, sorry. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So what's happening is that even though your mind channels are going upwards, they don't continue up in a linear way. What happens is that you are part of a hologram, you are a hologram, and at the planetary level, this entire hologram, which is multidimensional, is then coherent with the bigger hologram. So again, this is very complex, but you can learn this information in the books and in the other class, Mastering the Human Mind, where we see that all of the holograms that are contained within each other are connected and become coherent through 0 point. And so what happens is that as you are aligning your mind channel upwards, but it doesn't mean that it's that you remain this way, sorry. It means that you are kind of intending to position yourself that the entire hologram of your being gets positioned coherently with the bigger hologram. Does that make sense? So don't forget, this is a two-dimensional picture, and so it's very difficult to see, but you can visualize this and then you will feel it. That's what I was talking about, is we're going to experience a lot of this information, and believe me, the expansion is so massive that it's really not so linear, and it's multidimensional, and you will feel the holographic aspect of it through the experience. Good question. Okay, Joke, is that your name, and do you have a question? Your line is, did you have a question, Metz? Okay, your hand is up. I guess not. So please, folks, I would appreciate it if you only raise your hand if you have a question. Joyce, do you have a question?
Yes, I would like to go back to the picture of when we are seated to connect to the universal energy.
Right.
There is an arrow going down, and I don't really get what is this arrow. I mean, is the energy has to be channeled through the body and then go down somewhere? Or
yes, exactly. So this picture, right? Yes. The last one, I think, of the last slide of your Yes. So the arrow is the energy coming down, and as I guide you through the meditation, you will feel the energy coming down, and through your intent, you understand that you are requesting, you're basically summoning that universal frequency to come all the way from the center, all the way into your being. That's precisely what the arrow means, and it goes through your feet into the ground, and then it anchors you this way, and then it connects you back. So you're going to feel that, but that's the meaning of the arrow. Okay, good question. Anybody else? Let's see here. Okay, Kim, you're on the air.
Hi, Carolyn. I noticed that on the organs you had their exact vibrational frequency. And I know that you're always very precise with the numbers, and I'm just curious, how important is that to know those numbers and know those exact frequencies when healing, or is it not so important?
Yes, it's a great question. In fact, It is and it isn't. So what happens is that this 734 to 1000 hertz range allows you to balance everything in your body. So in one way, you don't really need to worry about, the exact frequency of your heart and the liver and all that, because they're not the same. But if you get the overall body to 734 to 1000, then everything corrects itself within your body without you having to focus on each one. So in that sense, you don't need to worry about the specifics. But if you are working on yourself or with someone on a specific organ, then, for example, let's say the heart, then you may want to find out exactly what the ultimate frequency range is, and for this person, where it's at this time and where you need to raise it. So in general, like I said, you don't need to, but only if you are working specifically on that organ, then you can find out. So then you're going to say, so what is it for everyone? That's the thing, is that there's not one specific vibration for everyone's heart, because this means that everybody has the exact same size, everybody has the exact same DNA, everybody has the exact same everything, because you see, the vibration is also dependent on the mass of whatever it is that's vibrating. So if something is very small, then it has a smaller vibration, and so or it has a different vibrational rate anyway, and so it's not that there's one ultimate vibration for everyone's heart on the earth at any moment in time. It's first of all, it's a range. It's not just one vibration. Let's say, even if I say that it's 580, it's not just 580. It's somewhere between 575 and 585, because the cells are moving. They're going up and down and around. You see, it's not still. Everything is alive. And so it's really more of a range. And so, but in general, and in the beginning especially, as you're doing this work, you will see that it's easier for now to just focus on the overall vibration, to balance the whole energy field, to align the mind channels, to expand and to summon the universal frequencies into your being, and then use the other tools to work on the organs and stuff like that. Okay? So this is the base of all of these techniques, to put together the entire being and the consciousness of the body. That is the larger context, not staying only within the chakras, within the body, in the planetary, but summon the entire frequencies. And then you begin the detailed work, which of course we're going to do in the future classes. Okay, Maricela, you're on the air. Do you have a question?
Oh, hi. I just type it, but when I align with the source, my feet feel so cold.
Yes, so it depends. What everybody's going to have different experiences, and I'm glad you're asking that, because especially in the beginning, while you are training your brain to function fully and to get to these higher vibration, it's going to register in your nervous system slightly differently. So some people are going to feel a little bit lightheaded. Some people are going to feel cold. Some people are going to feel very, very hot. So it depends, because there's so much information already registered in your nervous system. So when you are giving it new information, it's really specific to you, and it's shifting, it's registering through your nervous system wherever it's at today. And so that sensation or the result is really going to be your own. So I tell you something. As long as there is a sensation, it means something's happening, right? So don't worry if it's getting cold or hot or a little dizzy. That means that the energy is moving through. It is registering in your cells. Now, of course, if there's something uncomfortable, of course, you need to worry about it, but there's usually nothing really uncomfortable. It's just like a little slight in the temperature or the nervous system really registering. So it's all good. All right, Saya, you're on the air.
Okay, hi Caroline and everybody else. My question is about working with children.
Yes.
So when we are born, are all our organs vibrating at the perfect frequency, and are we perfectly connected to source, or is there a chance that like we have blocks already from past lives, or like blocks that are formed during pregnancy or during the birthing process?
Yes, of course. It's a great question. At birth, we all are, plus or minus, of course, some differences. There are no two beings alike. Period. It doesn't matter how close your DNA is, or you think you are, because you're a human. You share. Of course, there's a lot of common denominators, but really, no two beings are alike. But there's a range. There's a kind of normal, what people call normal. To me, it's more average. So it's true that as we come in as children, we have our mind channels perfectly connected. That's what's so amazing. You have the connection to source, the mind channels pointing directly into their frequency. And in fact, that's why we love being around babies, because we feel that peace, we feel that connection. And so we come in already with that connection. But what happens is that we also have an agenda, and we have a contract. For example, we are here to also experience contrast, and so we have some blocks that starts to be created for the purpose of resolving them. But it doesn't mean that we are disconnected. So that's the difference, is that we come in with these supposedly blocks or contrasts to experience these blocks and master them. But what happens is, because we are not trained, nobody tells us to raise our vibration, nobody to release the blocks, nobody tells us that we have mind channels, nobody tells us that we are universal. People tell us, you don't see it, if you don't see it, it's not there, you're just a human, you're just this, you're just that. So because we are not taught all of this information, then what happens is that connection gets lost, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually our blocks take over our being, and they become so huge, and then we lose our way. So that's the difference. So it would be a lot easier if we created these few blocks for the purpose of mastering them, but then if we could maintain the universal connection and the original DNA, then we would not be in such big trouble. Okay, we have from the French side, we are simultaneously translating. Go ahead, Yasmin, we have a question from the
Yes.
French people. Go ahead. What's the question?
The question is, when you reach 734 hertz, how does it feel? How do you know you have reached that level of frequency?
You will, of course, we're going to experience it. That's why you will recognize this frequency. That's precisely why I'm sharing this information with you. Is you, with your intent, you are now telling your consciousness to go there. You're telling all your physical cells, I'm telling you to go there. By the way, you are my cells, so I get to tell you what to do. And I'm telling you right now to go to this frequency, go to this frequency, go to this frequency. And like I said, most people will feel it the very first time. Some people, very, very few people, will not feel it because they're too afraid or what have you. Very few people, maybe one or two really. And most people will feel something, but it's not going to be as pronounced as if you keep doing it, like I said. So you are retraining. You are going to experience it in just a minute as soon as we finish the questions here, and then you will tell me how that felt. All right? So here we go. Teresa, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I was just wondering what the correlation is between the frequency of your spirit self and getting to that higher, and the tones in your ears, because I get a very high-pitched ringing in my ears when I'm raising my vibration.
Yes. So what's happening, the tones that you are hearing in your ears are universal frequencies. That's why they sound like tones. They don't sound like me talking in your ear. If they were planetary, then you would hear something that you recognize. The fact that it's just like a tone, you can't decipher what they are. And so most of the time when you are tuning into a higher vibration that is part of your universal aspect, or downloading, people say I'm downloading information, it's in the sound, it sounds like a tone, and in fact it's a lot of information. If you had a computer to enter this tone and break down what it actually means, you would see it would decipher it in a planetary and a human vibration, which will be English text. Does that make sense? And so it has to do when you are aligning with your entire being, when you are raising your vibration and you're having the sensation, this is information that's being downloaded into your being. And what happens is that, okay, so you're going to say, well, what does that mean? So I don't know what the tones mean. You don't know what they mean because you cannot decipher them as a tone. I told you earlier that the universal frequencies are not planetary. I mean, they're different frequencies. It's like there is no human machine that can measure that. If you were to create a machine and measure that, it would sound like a tone. You wouldn't understand what it means. But if you had a machine that measures a different type of frequency, meaning a universal frequency, then when you point it at that tone, then it would sound like something that you would understand. Does that make sense? So in the meantime, what do you do with all of this? In the meantime, you are receiving these tones and they're being registered in your consciousness. They're being registered in your cells. And with time, this information kind of unfolds. So, you know how sometimes you have an aha moment? You have the aha moment is because you've been getting all these tones. When you got the tone, you didn't know what it means, but then you allowed it to translate. The more you did the connection, the more you opened up to this translation, and finally you allowed it to be interpreted, to be downloaded into a language that you understand, and then finally your planetary, your human aspect understood the translation. So the more you make your human aspect coherent with your universal aspect, the faster you will be able to decipher these tones, because you're allowing this flow to become much faster and more easily understood. Does that make sense? All right, let's see who else. Sylvie, you have a question? No question?
No, it's okay. It's
okay.
Clear.
All right. Very good. Okay. Let's see here. We have a question. Okay. So let me see here. So somebody's asking, this is a typed question. Does even air have vibration? I wonder if what I have been seeing all my life is also vibration, because it seems like I can see light particles moving, turning, forming circles, spiraling. Yes. But I have always wondered if there is something wrong with my eyes. Okay, Dominique. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you, that there are so much information, and it's very difficult if you're by yourself to understand what it is that you're really seeing and how to decipher all of this. So all of this will come with practice. Like I said, for me in the beginning, I was seeing all this stuff, but I didn't know, okay, so what's the difference between this and this and this? So it took a while to put it all together in a very logical and a very clear way, and it's only when it got very clear in my head that I, of course, decided to share it with everyone. And so that's what I'm doing now. But what I'm saying is that yes, they will come in different forms, spiraling or what have you, until things start to be clear. And also, see, the more you do this work, the more you will recognize what you're saying. So, for example, the more you do this connection and you have an experience, believe me, the experience is going to be different every single time. You could do the connection every day of the year, and it will be different every single day. And so keep using these experiences, and you keep having them until eventually you come to certain conclusion and you have those aha moment and you start to discern and decipher all of these the differences. Okay, Annick, do you have a question?
Yeah, and maybe you've answered it, Caroline. It's just that I was wondering, let's say that, before doing this work and before getting to know how our mind connects to the either galactic or universal mind, what happens when, or what did we connect to when sometimes you wish for something and it happens? I mean, we used to say it was just luck, but I guess it was, I did connect to something. What would happen then?
What do you mean, like, it happens? What do you mean? Like, for example, in my case, when I was saying, for example, when I would say, okay, I want my fever to go away, and that would happen, in this particular case, it's because my vibration went exactly to that frequency range. What do you mean by something happens? Do you mean something like that? Or you've manifested, for example, a job or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's a job or, boyfriend or whatever.
Okay. All right. So this of course at that time you are in the higher vibrational field to allow this manifestation to happen. But I think it's a little bit more than that. This has to do with how you create everything, and so we're going to cover this a little bit later. Yeah, it's not exactly what we're talking about. What you're talking about is the manifestation of different things you've asked for, and at the time that you've asked them, you are in higher vibration, and at the time you receive them, you are in higher vibration to allow them to manifest. All right. Somebody's asking, is it possible to over vibrate? Okay, it's a good question actually, because sometimes, in fact, some people have asked me, well, could this be ever be harmful or what have you? So you see that you have this layer of your being that is at 734 and 1000 is the aspect of your being that I call the spirit self, like I mentioned earlier. This aspect of your being is like your higher consciousness. It's like a buffer. This is really the aspect of you that's the most mature, that's really in charge, or that should be in charge anyway. And when you are asking for anything, this is the buffer. This is the part of your being that integrates it properly into your being. So if you ask for something that's too much for you, this part of you will not allow you to have it and damage yourself, so to speak. And so, especially when it's something that's positive, you're asking for a connection, or you're asking to raise your vibration, you're not asking for. So in that particular case, you are always kept in a safe space, in a safe place, and you will not be harmed from this connection. And that's what the answer is. Okay, so another question. James is asking, how are you measuring the frequencies of matter, substance, food, and organs? Okay, this is another very long conversation, but you know that now there are instruments to measure things, but the way I was measuring them was through another process that I'm going to teach you. In fact, it's called the merging process. And that's also going back to what I mentioned earlier. When you use your entire brain, you absorb the consciousness, or you you measure the frequency, you measure the entire consciousness of whatever it is that you are tuning into. So, if I am tuning into a heart or a liver or what have you, my entire brain is merging with the entire liver. And what happens, it's because I'm not just using my cognitive ability, meaning my frontal lobe and temporal lobe, meaning just a part of my brain, which makes me interpret what I'm seeing and put in my own personal things and interpretation and studies and all that stuff. My entire brain is capable to retrieve the vibrational frequency of whatever it is that I'm tuning into. Like I said, we're going to learn this process, I think, the next class. I'm not sure which one. But this is how we're supposed to be learning everything. In fact, I didn't know how this whole thing worked, like I said, but in the beginning, for example, I would see things that don't exist on the earth, or for example, like nobody had ever told me about them or something. For example, I would see a being or an orb or something like that. And I had never, for example, read about them or learned from anyone or something. So I would experience these things, I would see these things, and yet I could tell you exactly what they were and where they came from and how they vibrated. Why? Because the way I was retrieving the information, which is spontaneous, by the way, was engaging my whole physical brain. The way my mind channels were aligned, the way my energy field was directed at the time of this connection with this new information, allowed me to understand and recognize the whole consciousness as if I already knew it. And of course, it recognized me as well. This is a natural learning and energy transfer process that exists throughout the universe. Of course, it sounds totally crazy here on the earth, because we tell us that's not, that's not how you learn, that's not how you process, but that's also because you're not using your full brain. If you know how to use your full brain, you retrieve the information of something you've never seen before in your life, and you'll know exactly where it's from and why and how it's made, and also how it vibrates. So again, I am really summarizing here years and years and years of experiences and information that I have come to master. So, if you're new to this, of course, there are other courses, and a lot of the information is in the books too. I'm doing the best I can to share all of this in those classes, but this is really a lot of a long time of mastering this information before I could bring it to you. Okay. So let's see, maybe we can take one more question here so we have time to do the connection. Let's see, Greg, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Oh, no, thank you.
No question. Okay. All right. So, so what we're going to do, I see you guys, you still have some questions, but I'd like to kind of get to the experiential portion. So for those who still have questions, like I said, this is going to be an ongoing journey, and we're going to, of course, connect every week. But what you can do is a lot of your questions will be answered in future classes. Like I said, this is a general introduction. We're going to get deeper into the details and how to do this and how to retrieve that. In the meantime, you are welcome to send me your questions, but because if there's too many of you, I will take the questions and answer them in a future class. And also, you will also be part of a forum a little bit down the road in which you will be able to ask questions and talk also with many others who have taken this class before you as well. Okay? So here we go. Let us begin with the experiential part. What we're going to do is I'm going to guide you through an exercise in which you will be able to feel the vibrational frequency of your own energy field. I'm going to take you to a specific place within your physical body and your human energy field, and we're going to experience how this frequency really feels, and then we're going to move to another one and to another one, so that you can discern, hopefully, that particular frequency range that I'm talking about, 734 to 1000 hertz. And again, for those of you who are new, please do the best you can. This will be in your account. You can go back and do this exercise over and over. Try not to get frustrated or whatever, or ask too many take questions during the process because you will interrupt the flow and the full experience. So please relax, enjoy, and let's get started. So let's sit up straight with the feet flat on the floor, as you see on your screen. But now let's go ahead and close your eyes. And take a deep breath in through the nose, deep breath. Exhale through the mouth. Quiet your mind. Quiet your thoughts. Just relax. And again, take a very deep breath in through the nose, deep, deep breath. Exhale through the mouth and relax, quiet your mind. Let go of your thoughts, the mind chatter, just relax. And again, deep, deep breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. One more time, deep breath in through the nose, deep breath. Exhale, and as you exhale through the mouth, let go of the tension in your neck, your shoulders, your arms. Just relax. We ask and intend to create a sacred space. We ask to let go of the distracting thoughts, distracting information, distracting energies. Our intent is to discern the various frequencies within our physical body, energy field, to raise our vibration, align our mind channels, and truly feel connected to our entire being. Breathe in through the nose, deep breath. Exhale through the mouth. Go to your heart center. As you focus on your heart, imagine that there is a deep, deep purple light that is filling your heart. This light is very warm, very calming. It's very safe. Breathe in through the nose, and as you exhale through the mouth, imagine that this deep purple light is now spread throughout your body. Still focusing on your heart. Slowly expand 360 degrees, only about a foot from your physical body. So you are sitting in a small sphere that is only a foot from your physical body. Take a moment to feel this vibrational range. ask to experience 163 hertz. And notice how you feel. Don't think, just feel. How does it feel at 163 hertz? Breathe in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, expand 360 degrees, a little bit more, maybe 3 more feet, and ask to experience 234 hertz. That's all you need to do. Imagine that the sphere is a little bit larger, and ask to feel, what does 234 hertz feel like? Breathe in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, continue expanding 360 degrees, so your sphere is a bit larger. Ask to experience 580 hertz. Simply set that intent and just allow yourself to feel. What does 580 hertz feel like? Just feel. Breathe in again through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, expand a little bit more to 733 hertz. Simply intend for the sphere to expand a bit more and intend to experience 733 hertz. What does that feel like? Breathe in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, a tiny bit more, expand to 734 hertz. What happens? (800 hertz). 1,000 hertz. Imagine your sphere much larger now. Ask to just feel 1,000 hertz. Just feel. Don't interpret. Let it be. How do you feel? Breathe in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, now imagine that from the center of the universe is pure, pure white light. This pure white light is in a sphere that is now coming down from the center of the universe through space, slowly, slowly, going through the galaxy, through the center of the galaxy, arriving to the planetary grid. And the same sphere of pure white light is now hovering right above you. Imagine that this pure white light is the source frequency. It is absolutely pure, unconditional love. Bring it down through the top of your head. Let it fill your entire head slowly, slowly. Every cell in your head is opening up and allowing this pure white light to come in deeper and deeper. And now slowly it comes in, fills your neck, your shoulders, your arms, upper back, chest, lower back and stomach, thighs, knees, ankles, feet, and it comes out through the bottom of your feet, anchoring you all the way down into the earth. Breathe in deeply through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and bring your focus back to your heart. Continue to imagine that you are now filled with this pure, pure white light. You are fully expanded. Every cell in your physical body is vibrating at the perfect rate. As you continue to focus on the pure white light, you become this pure white light. Allow yourself to be perfectly blended with this white light. This is who you really are. Pure white light. A universal consciousness in human form. Pure white light. Still focusing on your heart. Say, I am now choosing this universal frequency to bring my entire being into this physical form. I ask to maintain it, be it, and maintain my human vibrational field to hold this pure, magnificent, universal vibration. Breathe in through the nose, exhale through the mouth, Still focusing on your heart. Allow yourself to be in this space. Expand more. And very slowly, whenever you're ready, take your time. You may open your eyes. And for those who are ready and would like to share very briefly their feelings, you may do so now. This is great. Everything working wonderfully. Sound, visuals. Very good. Please share how you are truly feeling at this moment. For those who want to remain in this space, it's fine. Someone is saying, I feel at home. Someone is mentioning a boundary at 733, and then wonderful expansion at 734. Exactly. Someone is mentioning utterly peaceful and huge. I feel suspended out of time, really great, safe, peaceful. Very nice. Very expanded, very light, bright, pure love. Great. All right, so we're going to wrap this up for this first class. As I mentioned, you're welcome to send your comments and questions, and I will respond to them. I will bring them with me to the next class. I highly recommend that you go into your account and listen again to these to this session and do the connection online every day. It's on the Healing Center page as much as you can. Thanks so much, and I'll connect with you next time.